Welcome to the Blessed Mindset Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Raquel Tosin. And listen, I missed out last week, y'all. I was in Mexico, and I am so sorry if you were waiting for my broadcast. I did do a video and couldn't send it because of the internet. So I am so sorry. But happy November! We are broadcasting on WYTV7.org. Oh, that's the website, www.wytv7.org, where we have a mission to empower, encourage, and educate. And we need you to go to that website and hit the donate button because we need money to stay on the air. We have a lot of good stuff going on. We are sending kids to college. We are feeding families, and this month is the month of giving, so please put us on your list to give. All right, so we are here in November. And November, well, y'all know every month has something going on, but November is special to me as a writer because it is National Novel Month. And I am going to interview other authors and people that work with authors all month long. So if you know an author, somebody that wants to be an author, make sure they listen all month long, okay? Our first guest for the month is Michelle Jackson. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
I was about to say, because I just thought about it. I was like, because I did not even write that down. I was like, I didn't even write her name down. And she is a new friend. Y'all already know I don't meet strangers. She is a new friend. Michelle is an author, but what made me bring Michelle on is she is the founder of the Black Writers Workspace, and it's a group where writers can come and Black writers can come and just get love, and y'all don't even understand, being a writer is not easy. For all of you all that say I got a book in me and y'all haven't done it yet, you know why? Because it's not easy. Being a writer is not easy, so we need a community, and Michelle has gotten a community for us. So thank you, Michelle. Welcome to the Blessed Mindset Matters podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. And happy
Awesome.
National Authors Novelist Month. I love that, right?
All of that, all of that.
All of that.
So Michelle is also an author. So tell us, how many books have you written?
I've written two books. One is The Heart of a Man, and I'm going to show you that one. I don't have my other one with me.
Okay.
It is a Christian fiction novel that I wrote in 2010, self-published, and was just an exciting experience to be able to write and to combine my faith and to build a character that's kind of non-traditional, in my opinion, when it comes to writing from my perspective, because he is my main character is a Caucasian man who
Oh,
is going through quite a bit. And I came up with the idea of writing the book after having a tough day at the office and built this character and started writing. Didn't see it as a novel, but after you get about 75,000 words, you're like, you know what? This is a novel.
whoa, wait a
So
minute.
I
You
did that.
75,000 words. That's a whole lot of words.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting. And so I published the first book in 2010. It did well. I was happy with it. It was an experience. I really didn't know what I was doing because, as you know, if you don't get a traditional publishing deal, you're kind of just out there flapping in the wind and trying to
Right.
figure out, what editors to hire, what book cover designer to get. And so I just kind of learned a lot, but I made a lot of mistakes too. And so when I published my second book in 2020, which is called From Darkness to Night, it is more, I guess you could say urban fiction, but I'm not a big fan of the urban fiction category. So it's more women fiction. It's a family drama, and really excited to publish that second book. But I learned a lot. And so that's what led me to create the workspace.
Awesome. And I'm so happy that you did because I actually go on there every day just to kind of see what kind of conversations are going on, just to, and maybe put a little, word of encouragement or just something. It's awesome. But wait a minute, you said something that I need to go back because we put a pin in. I put a pin in my head. You said you wrote about a man, not just a Caucasian man, but the fact that you wrote about a man, because in a lot of my stories, I want the men to really be the main character, but I don't know if you, I've been told that, romances are women driven. Like it has to be more about the woman. And I'm like, yeah, but the man has the better story. So is yours a romance or is it just
There
is it
is romance in it. Like it's a non-traditional Christian book because he really doesn't step foot in a church per se. But he has this, this revelation about his life. He goes back to find his joy. He's very wealthy. He grew up poor. He marries a lady who doesn't really love him, but she's got a lot of money, and so he becomes a socialite. And so he's battling between the person he grew up as, who grew up in a very diverse world, who was very open to everyone. Because he's in Georgia, and now he is now this very attractive socialite with all this money, and he really hasn't reckoned with those two worlds. He can't seem to bring those two worlds together. So he makes a decision to do something that leads him down a path of romance that's not with his wife.
oh my
And
goodness.
so it then that everything collapsed in his world, and he has to find his faith to
Okay.
find his get his grounding. And so it was exciting. I did not think about the fact that he was a man. I did not care about the fact that he was not a Black man. I was just writing the book that came to me, because as a
Yeah.
writer, it's like the work drives you. And so I guess, now when I talk to people and they find out that my main character is someone that's so different, they'll ask questions about it. But for me, it was very normal, very natural to write that character. And so I don't know. But I did my homework. I want to make sure he wasn't stereotypical. I wanted to make sure he wasn't doing anything that was out of the norm. He dealt with race issues. He dealt with masculinity. He dealt with a lot of internal struggles. And so I just didn't think a lot of it. Maybe I was just being naive. I know now a lot of the conversations are around, sticking to building characters that are more like you. But I think as a writer, you have to be willing to step outside the box sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely agree because although I feel like I have gone into because I do write romance, and so I do try to stick with the cookie cutter, the heroine, because women are the ones that read it and all that. But I think with my book Undefiled, I think I had a lot of men that liked it because the male character he was a very, very strong character.
Yeah.
And I think it came through that that's who I was really focused on, and a lot of men got it. And so it was really interesting. So let's quickly talk about um, just self-publishing because you said that and you like how it's difficult because you got to get a team because if you're traditionally published, you get an agent, they get you sign you with somebody, they're going to get you everything you need. Their whole team is going to be around
Mhm.
you. But when I also self-publish, you do have to find your team, and like it's not. There are a lot of editors out there, but trying to find one that works well with you, that won't change what you want, but will make it better.
Mhm.
And let me tell y'all, that's not cheap. So anybody out there that's saying they want to write a book, please, for the love of God, do not put it on Amazon without hiring an editor.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
please do that because when we do it without an editor, it gives self-publishing a bad name because people are like, oh, there it was mistakes and it doesn't read right, as this and that. But if you have an editor and a legit, now when I say legit, I'm not saying that you got to go out and spend, you know, tons of money. But for the most part, an editor is gonna, I'm gonna say you're gonna spend more than $500. Am I right?
Yes. You
You
are.
gonna,
You are right. And I think one of the reasons that I started the Black Writers Workspace is because of the fact that when you are a self-published author, you're in need of so many resources and so much information, and you're almost inundated with info. I mean, you Google self-publishing and you're going to get a ton of vanity publishing houses and call me, I can help you, and people who are just creating publishing houses for the sake of creating publishing houses, but they really don't have the back.
Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulties, and we are back though with Michelle. And Michelle, you were telling us about Well, we were speaking about the editing process. So go
Yes.
ahead.
So, what I realized with publishing my first book, I started asking people about editors, and I ended up hiring one person, really not knowing what I was doing, but I knew I needed an editor, and she just added a bunch of comma splices. And so I had to go in, after paying her $500 to add a bunch of comma splices, I had to go back in and undo everything that she did and hire a second editor. And
Oh,
so this was someone who knew me and who also understood and understood my tone. And
mhm.
I didn't worry as much, I didn't want an editor that would change what I was doing. I wanted them to enhance it, but I also know that you have to be able to carry that tone, and understand the tone that the writer is writing in and the tempo and how I write. I try to be very descriptive. And so I didn't want that to be watered down. So it is challenging to get a good editor, but you need one. The second
Yes,
book, I actually had like 3 editors. And so I take it because there are certain people who can bring certain things to the story itself. I had one editor who had written um, fiction similar to mine. I had my editor from my first book who I felt like who really got my tone. And so, sometimes you have to do that, but the editor is important. It is critical. And that is one of the big things that I talk about, when because we have roundtables and interviews and everything on the Black Writers Workspace. But that is one of the key things that I try to convey to everybody is Grammarly is great, but
yes,
you need an editor. And because it hurts us as self-published authors because there's still this idea that we're amateurs and that our work isn't good. And it's not true. I mean, there are
right.
millions of books being self-published every year. And I believe self-publishing is the future. And
Yeah.
so, but the readers have to be willing to believe that the story is going to be good and give us a pass on some things. How many good movies? I mean, how many movies are created and are in the movie theater and they're bad? I mean,
Oh my goodness, girl. I sometimes go or even on Netflix because I'm like,
yes,
oh, I could do better than this. My story is
exactly.
so much better than this. I'm like, but we still watch them. They're still there, and you're right. People have to give us, and then even with mistakes, I've a published, traditionally
Mm-hmm.
published book. I've seen mistakes
Mm-hmm. Me too.
because even after you get the editor, you still need some proofreaders. You got to
Yes,
get you a group of proofreaders. If you don't know an English teacher, you don't even call yourself a writer if you can't find some English teachers in your group because you
mm-hmm.
need to give or some retired English teachers something because they will help you find some errors
Yes, and
even
it's true.
after the
Mm-hmm.
editor and after whatever the proofreading, they will still find more. So I always have me a group of people that'll go through it. And I got it, and then and even after everybody, it still may be an error.
Absolutely. And the challenge we also face as writers is that the traditional publishing community, the gatekeepers of the publishing world, they still don't recognize and honor our work. I mean, I was reading a study the other day done by the New York Times that said between 1950 and 2018, 5% of the books published by major publishing houses were written by Black people. 5%.
That's
And
it.
I mean, when you think about that, a lot of the books, because I'm on a lot of pages and I do a lot of research and I put out surveys and different things like that. But what I see is that a lot of the people who are reading books, Black readers, are only reading the same set of bestseller books.
Yeah.
And it really probably is maybe less than 50. Now, all of us writing these amazing books, but
Yeah.
yet our readers, our avid readers, are doing just what the publishing houses want them to do, which is to read their books. And I have no issue with getting a traditional deal because hey, we all want to we want to make money at what we do.
Right.
But it is a problem, in my opinion, that there's so much good self-published work out there and it's not getting the eyes on the books. People aren't buying our work for fear that it's no good,
Right.
where we're just kind of falling in line with what the publishing companies are telling us to read, where
Mm.
so many of us who are putting out really good work aren't getting aren't getting the fan base and being able to grow the way we should. So yeah, we
Right.
definitely need to edit. We need to have good book covers. We need to have good layout. Everything needs to be done well,
Yeah.
because the competition is real and the market is oversaturated right now. So it
Yes.
really is tough. Mhm.
Yes. We are going to take a quick commercial break and then we're going to come back and talk more about the Black Writers Workspace, and we're going to talk about NaNoWriMo. I know, yeah, some of y'all like, what did she just say? Did she speak some different language? Come right back and I'll explain what I'm talking about.
Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made by good people. That's why I love Dry Farm wines. I first met the man known as the healthiest wino on the planet back in 2016. He said his wines don't cause headaches or hangovers, and that he started his company because most wine consumed in the US is highly processed and loaded with unnatural nasties. Like most processed food, it's toxic. That very night, I made a big health decision. Toxic wines out, natural wines in. It's been 4 years since I made the switch, and I feel great. Go to happyliving.com and select Partners in Happy to get your first bottle of natural wine for a penny. And I'll donate 8% of every order placed during the entire month of November to WITV7. Share the gift of natural wine and pour some love this holiday season.
We're back, and Michelle has been just really schooling us. I mean, if you want to write a book, somebody wants to write a book, they need to listen to this episode because she is dropping some nuggets for us. Okay, so before we get back to the Black Writers Workspace, let's talk about NaNoWriMo. Tell everybody what that means.
Well, it is representative of writers who are going to produce or write a book within 30 days. So the month of November is dedicated to our writers and supporting those writers as well. So
Right.
that's the goal. And there are different programs out there that are really inspiring people to either start their books or finish their books in the next 30 days. And it's so timely because it's right before Christmas. So if you can wrap that novel up and get it out there, there's a chance you're going to get a good audience for it.
I tried one year and I didn't finish. Um, I don't know why I'm so slow about writing books because then I can get in a groove and then I can just knock it out. But it's just getting in the groove, and I won't say that it's writer's block because I don't believe in writer's block. Because, and I'm gonna share this with y'all. This is my secret. This is my little secret sauce. So listen now. If you ever find yourself with quote unquote writer's block, it's not really a writer's block. It's because you're not listening to your characters. If you are writing fiction, you're not listening to your characters, which means you need to go back and learn more about your characters, which means you might not want to be out in public because you're going to be talking to yourself. No, seriously, I mean, maybe it's just me that like to talk to myself, but I mean, because you do a character's work, and then you just have to really get to know your characters, and you have to figure out, okay, if they were in this situation, how would they act? If you don't know your characters. You got to go back and get reacquainted with your characters. You should know how your characters would act at any given situation. So where you might not have the whole story like blocked out, but something happens in the real world, and you're like, I wonder how my character would act in that situation. And you can just throw them in there and you would know how, because you know your character. One of the things that I do for my characters, I make sure everybody has a zodiac sign. I do their numerology. And I know it sounds weird, but like I mean their name is important. I do their numerology. The astrology, all that stuff, because I really do feel like people kind of act like that. And so I have to, if I don't know, it's like, well, how would a Libra act? Because I'm a Libra, that's why I say that. Or how would a Capricorn act in this situation? And y'all know Capricorns, y'all know they're going to probably argue and debate the whole time. But maybe it's just the Capricorns I know. But it's those kind of things. So I know how they act. So when I'm not writing, it's not because I have a block. It's just because I'm being lazy, I think. That's why the nano. So I know nano is National Novel Writing Month. That's why it's nano write mode, National Novel Writing Month. And if you can't, we already in day. Well, when you guys listen to this, it'll be November 3rd. So it's just 3 days you would miss, but you can start. You can start today and start writing that novel and start knocking it out. And if you don't finish it, it's oh well, but you would probably write more than what you would have written if you don't start. What do you think?
I think that the second you start, you sit down to write, you are a writer. And I think that whether you finish it in 30 days or 30 months, it's still coming. It's like birthing a baby, and you've got to get it to grow and nurture it. And I think that, I would never limit myself to doing anything in 30 days, because honestly, it takes me that long to read a paragraph. I'm a slow reader, and which means I'm a slow writer. And when I write, this last book took me 8 years to write. Now, 3 years to write the book, 5 years to get the company to put it out, because I felt like it was going to hit home with my family in a little bit, and I didn't want it to be something as a surprise to anyone. And it really wasn't about my family, but I wanted to. Anytime you write a book, and I learned this with my first book, people go, am I in it? Am I in the book? And so because I was writing about a young lady who may appear to have been me, because she grows up in a community very similar to the one I grew up in, I wanted to take some time to make sure that I was comfortable putting it out, because I knew I was going to get the questions. I got questions on the first book from family that was like, am I in it? Is this character me? And so, yeah. And I do agree with you on the character development. The character drives you as a writer. I mean, you're not really having a block if you're just taking a moment to listen to your character and grow him or her into the person that they need to be. Now, I do hold the whole chronological thing for my characters, their age, where they were born, what's their favorite color, how would they deal with a certain situation. I really get to know them. And to the point where they are literally talking to me, where they're like, nope, I wouldn't have done that. Like, no, Miss Writer, I wouldn't do that. That's not symbolic of who I am. Scratch that out and start again. And you fall in love with your characters. And what's so good is that the characters really do represent the world around you. Like, they may not be someone who is obviously in your space, but their characteristics are pieces of people that you've met. And I noticed that about myself. When I wrote my first book, my main character, Conrad, was probably more like me than the character in my second book. And because I just lost my mother and I was going through different things, and I just poured all that into him because he had lost his mother. So, writing is so therapeutic, and we build these characters to kind of digest and deal with things in our own life. And so I love that about fiction writing. Now, I haven't written nonfiction. I am writing a book now that's a graphic nonfiction book that's based on helping kids how to start businesses, because that's something else that I do. And I'm so excited about it. I'm working with an illustrator, and I'm like, wow, because it's kind of part fiction and then it's part nonfiction, because it is going to walk you through how to start a business. So yeah, really excited about that. But the fiction, I love it. But I am someone who sits and watch Lifetime and Hallmark and every sappy movie I can find. That's me.
Somebody asked me, because I have friends that like kind of hate the whole one of my friends. She doesn't even like coming around in Christmas time, because she know that it's gonna be Hallmark all that. And she was like, why? And I was like, romance is full of hope.
Yes.
It is full of hope. Like they would say, well, it always ends the same. Exactly. A happy ending. That's what we want. Like, and now y'all already know, every now and then I have to, get spiritual. But when you think about God, if you are a believer in God or the universe, however you want to say it, the goal is for good. Mm-hmm. The goal is that we always, he said, everything happens for our good. You know what I'm saying? Even though it may not be good, but it will work out for our good. And that's what romance does. You can have all kind of craziness, but then you're going to get your happy ending. It's going to work out, because some books is not. And it's like, I don't want to write. Even movies, if it's not a happy ending, I don't want it. I
Mhm.
don't want any parts of it. Like that one Star Wars. I forget which one it was, but everybody died. I was like, I was in the movie theater crying. Me sitting next to a little kid that was crying also. Me and a little kid, we were just, when the lights came up, both of us were in tears and just in shock. I don't want any parts of it. That's why I write romance. And then for Black women, when you look at the statistics, so many of us are still single. I'm 52 and still single. Um, we are probably the least amount of women who they want to on dating sites that they choose or whatever. I was like, if anybody needs to read romance books, it's us, and it's not so that's the only romance we get, but it's so we can have some hope, so we can open ourselves for love. Because
Right.
if you only have all these bad negative thoughts about love, you're not going to open yourself up for love to come to you. So you have to be open for love, and that's what romance does. So I'm trying to get everybody I know, and then so I got this is my Christmas book. It's a new cover, but you see how small it is? It's a novella. I write novellas because for my friends that don't oh, they will read that book and they read it and they're like, oh, I couldn't stop reading it, and it's like it was really good. If it was a thicker book, they wouldn't read it because they like, oh, I don't even like romances. But they've been reading my romance novellas and they enjoy them. So I'm kind of getting them ready so then I can go to the novels and then they'll be ready for me, right?
They'll be ready.
All right, so we got 5 minutes left. The Black Writers Workspace, real quick, why should somebody join the Black Writers Workspace?
You know what? The story behind the Writers Workspace, the Black Writers Workspace is amazing. I started it in March of 2020 after I released my book in February, and then we were at home because there was a pandemic.
Yeah.
Who could have called it? And I was thinking, I just learned about the Facebook private groups. I said, well, I'm going to start a private group. I've got about 10 friends that have written books, and we'll all get together and talk about resources and how we're going to, pivot to sell our books in the midst of a pandemic. And I started posting and inviting people. And I mean, in this time frame, we've got over 10,000 people in it.
Yes.
So it just took off. And what happened, it just felt like it was a part of, what was going on in the world socially with George Floyd, and all of us just feeling like we need to be there together. But also there was this idea that, we're all doing the same thing. We're trying to publish our books, and we really do need to hear from each other. Tell me what works and what worked for you and what didn't work, what illustrators I should work with and which ones I should. And so it kind of built into this active community. And as you know, you ask a question and you may get 300 responses. And
Right.
so this is a very active group. They're very passionate and we support each other. But one of the things I did, and one of the reasons why I think everyone should join the group, is when you come, the first thing you see is me, and it talks about the fact that this group is about being positive. We're not here to review you and tell you your book is no good. We're here to be positive and support you. So if you release your book, you post it on the page. If you need some help, you post it on the page. But we also incorporated some other things that have been phenomenal. One is the virtual book fairs that helps our independent and new authors to sell their books. We have workshops. We have had people from HarperCollins to speak, ESPN to speak. We have had so many amazing people to come out and speak at our workshops and our book fairs. We have roundtable discussions and weekly interviews and a Black only self-published and unpublished competition every year. We kick that off this year, and we give away $500 and a host of other prizes. And so we're trying to take things to the next level because I feel like this is a movement. I really do. I think that self-publishing and is the future. And if the traditional publishers aren't going to do more than 5 or 10% of our books, then we have to create avenues where we can make sure that everybody's winning. So that's what it's all about. And just joining is just an opportunity to connect with all these writers, but also to connect with readers. We also have a weekly newsletter, and so we're constantly promoting for free. And your book was in it last week, and we picked your name from a list. So this isn't like everything isn't paid. There are things that we do that are complementary, and our goal is 100% to support writers. That's it. We're not doing this to become millionaires or anything like that. We just want to support writers. So the event on December 11th is our 4th virtual book fair. It is on a Saturday. It's 4 hours long, and you can get a virtual booth at the event for $40. And the booth is just like Zoom, just like what we're doing now. You'll be able to talk to customers or avid readers. You can sell the book. They'll have links for them to buy the book immediately. And we have thousands of people who come on, and we think because this one is before Christmas, it's going to really do well. So we are open for exhibitors, and it's free to attend. All you have to do is register with boothcentral.com, and you can participate. So it's excellent.
Thank you so much. Boothcentral.com. I'm going to put it on there so everybody, if you want to support Black writers, please go to Booth Central, go to the web, go to register and come to the virtual holiday book fair. I plan to be there with my book. I Need a Christmas Angel and my children's books. So our time is up. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, everybody. Happy November. I will see you next week. Be blessed.